Yeah.
Or maybe.
Mm,
Looks like it's
it's
working.
it's it. Oh,
We're
It,
8-bit again.
it
I feel like
still
I'm
might be.
getting teased.
Yeah, it still might be struggle bus, but we'll see. We'll see what it does here.
Struggle bus.
Yeah.
I think that's the bus I rode.
That's the bus you rode in on. Well, I mean, at the very least, we're gonna try to push this, everybody. So apologies in advance if the quality is not that great tonight. The issue is purely related to Chris and I moving to the countryside, and we're trying to get a solution figured out for Sunday nights because it turns out our main ISP has some issues with us on the evenings from 7:30 onwards. There appears to be some throttling stuff going on, so we're trying to find backup solutions. So tonight we're trying to do it from our phones, and do hotspots and stuff, and it's not going to be a perfect solution, but at least we'll be able to be here for a little bit with everybody and say hi. I think, hopefully, theoretically, um, we'll see if this works. How's it look on your guys' end? Because I'm terrified to like hit play on anything.
Not
Okay.
bad.
It's
Looks
okay right
better.
now.
Yeah, it's like the best it's been so far.
Okay. Um,
On the threshold for sure, though.
okay. Let me double check everything on our end. If you guys want
Oh,
to do a round table, well, I'll just do mine first, and then I'll go check Chris's, and then we can go around. So we didn't have one last week because obviously we didn't have a backup in place because we didn't know that we were going to need one. So Chris and I have been. That's what this week was about, was getting the backup sorted. But we do have at least this up for now. We've got a whole bunch of stuff done in terms of my work. I've just been getting all the if you haven't been watching social media for the Weave in the Void, cranking out the tabletop stuff. So I've got all of Christina's artwork into the book. I've got all the maps into the module. I got the module added to the source book. I've gotten some of Nathan's stuff in there. Nathan got me a whole bunch more artwork today. So this upcoming week, I'll be adding the rest of that artwork and fleshing out the entirety of the classes section. And then Nathan's going to be moving into the races moving forward. So that's what I've been working on. Joey and I had a live stream last Sunday afternoon of the point and click game showing a dev walkthrough of what's been being worked on. And this week, he and I are going to get together and do a session on what needs to be done next in terms of writing, which is what I'm going to be working on next. And then Chris and I are just getting settled into the new office. We now have 3 cats, which we started the worming process today because one of the babies had a little surprise for us when we were cleaning house this morning, and we had put the litter box outside, and she was in a panic and pooped in another box and had
oh.
spaghetti in it. So we had to immediately. It was like, oh, it's time to you gotta do the worms. So we got them all wormed on the first round today, and we're gonna figure it out by getting the cat spayed and stuff. So we've been doing that and painting and all the other stuff. Um, I'll let everybody else update what you guys are working on while I double check Chris's connection and everything.
Go ahead, Ethan, maybe.
Yeah, I'll go. I have been working on the art, as he mentioned. So pretty excited because we got through all the classes. Now it's time to work on, and I really like his idea for doing the races, which is we're going to try to capture something very specific that race is known for the images, which I think is a really cool idea. Plus, gives us opportunity in many of those cases to maybe show multiple of that particular race instead of just one example. So pretty excited about that. And then I've got really exciting news coming up in May, but I can't talk about it yet. But in May, I have super big news for my channel. That's all I've
Nice.
got.
So basically, you're here to tease us. Okay.
Yeah,
You
I
tease.
can't say it. It's a dangerous moment to say it. I gotta wait till early May before I can open my mouth.
That's fair.
Can I suspect that it might be related to something that I may already know about?
Yeah, you already
Okay.
know.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So that's all I need to know. So that's
Off air, I'll tell everybody. I just can't say it anywhere where
Right.
some certain people might hear.
Correct. So I can second that it's pretty amazing. So
Oh, now you have to
no
tell us,
spoilers.
Why
Oscar.
couldn't we pre-show chat about this, Nathan? What's wrong with you,
Yeah.
dude?
Well, I didn't know I was gonna have to do a round table, and it's like that's what's
Oh,
on my mind
no,
right
dude.
now.
Now
How
I'm
about
curious.
you, Sim? What's going on with you, Sim?
What's going on with me?
Yep.
Sim's gonna do a video game.
Yeah. So I was originally. So I guess I haven't really talked about her in this domain, right? So I do a lot of content creation that most people know I do in podcasting and stuff, but I've had like this whole IP I've been developing for like 15, well, it's more than that years, like basically since roughly 2004 or 5. And I've been spending the past 3 months in my abundant spare time. It's not so sarcasm. Tying the pieces together so I could start writing the first book. But with I've contemplated the idea of like doing an open world RPG game for a while. And now that I see what Unreal Engine 5 is capable of offering, it's kind of a no brainer. So I'm going to be going through with that. So the goal is to slowly kind of like tell people about that and share things as the company and the, game side's kind of getting established. And then when the book actually launches is when I'll really open the floodgates on that, because I'll be working on it in development wise in Unreal Engine 5 over the course of the next year in between things, but I won't actually show anything. I'll probably do like concept art and stuff online via like Adobe Photoshop and stuff like that, because that I don't have to tell people what it actually is. I just go, this is a cool place and some place here.
Yeah,
So that's pretty cool, because I'll get to pretty much just doubling down on all the things I really am stoked about. So yeah, pretty exciting.
that's really
And
cool.
it's gonna be probably exhausting as hell, but let's go. Right, one life.
It's worth it.
Yeah,
Um,
just cool.
Very cool. Sounds good.
and Unreal 5 is looking pretty good. So I know that we're still using Unreal 4 for this project, but we're looking forward to switching over to 5 for the next thing because it's extremely robust. So I'm looking forward to
Mhm.
see what it's going to allow all of the small time content creators to come out with, because it's doing so much of the workload now
Mhm.
that you don't have to do, like, all the
Yep.
lighting already done for you, all the shaders already done for you, optimization's already been
Yep.
done for you. And unless you're doing something super high end and working on a AAA project, I don't think you're going to need to do too much to it, because it's just going to do it for you, which is very smart
Yeah.
of them, because they're just trying to get more and more and more people using their platform.
Yeah.
It's pretty brilliant.
Especially if you do like I was watching one of their it was like the State of Unreal. They do some things throughout the week and everything, and they actually had showcased some other developers and stuff. And it seems like, I think especially to piggyback off what you're saying, if you focus on a game that's stylized as opposed to going for like high realism and stuff, I think you're really going to be able to capitalize on it. So that's pretty exciting.
Sparrow,
Amazing.
Bounty Code, anything up in your world?
Still streaming Wednesday evenings on our channel. Right now we're doing Lord of the Rings online, having fun with that with Crow Singer and Stands in the Fire and our longtime friends, Tamian and Skinny.
Blood
We're
Choice
doing
is
the
such a good
101.
game.
Oh, it is. It is. And I love watching your you aren't doing your morning streams anymore.
I'm gonna be getting back to them. I was being hesitant with them because I was trying to
Yeah.
see if I was getting limited by my ISP because of usage. And once I found out that they were definitely doing that, I've decided to throw that out the window, and I'm just gonna go back to my normal streaming schedule.
Yeah,
Nice.
because they're going to do it anyway.
They're gonna
right?
do it anyway, so it is what it
Yeah.
is.
And we're still doing the 101 on Tuesday evenings with Pantheon Plus.
Perfect.
And we're in Project Gorgon right now, which I am enjoying just because it's so unique and outside the box, and they're doing a great job with it. It's something fresh. Even if I don't like all the parts of it, it's still really cool.
Nice. Heard a lot of good things about that game from a lot of different people.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive actually.
Yeah, it's a couple, right? Just a couple that mostly works on it.
I think
Yeah.
so.
They have some contractors like I can't remember his name off the top of my head. He's on. He follows all three of us on. Well, all three of us being the on the Looking for More show folks. He follows all three of us. He's a
Was
pro.
it the Aaron guy?
Yeah, Aaron. That's who it is.
I had a feeling. Yeah, he's a cool
Oh.
dude. I like that
Yeah,
guy.
Yeah, I like
Oh.
that guy
he and
too.
I have had some really
Yeah.
good chats before because he's brought stuff to me and asked if I could use it, and I've been like, I would love to, but I can't because of legal reasons. But he's a really
Hmm.
stand-up guy, and I think he's been working with them for, I want to say, like, at least, I feel like it's been at least 2 years, maybe longer. He's been working with them, so they do have some contractors who fill out for them. But yeah, it was husband. It's been a
Nice.
husband and wife for like 10, 12 years now. It's been a long time
Wow.
working on that.
Well, after the one-on-one, I'm thinking I might stick with it and maybe stream it myself because I don't think there's a
Nice.
lot of people streaming it because it's
No.
so.
I don't think there's.
Very
I
niche.
might do that.
Yeah, it's niche, but it's like it's got a lot of feel goods too, and yeah, it's a great. I think that would be a great game to because it's definitely got a lot of people that enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that player base is very hardcore. So,
Yep.
very supportive is maybe the better
Yeah.
word.
They only have one server, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So everybody's all on one world.
Well, there's not that many people, so it works.
Because it's not finished.
No,
It's still a work in progress.
I think it's worth if you like it. It's pretty affordable on Steam to just go spend. And I remember I got mine at discount for like $10 or something at some point.
Oh,
So,
nice. Yeah, we spent
Dang.
40, I think. So that's a
Dang.
nice deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
a
I
really
think
good
I got
deal.
it when they were still like before it even launched in this state. I think I got it for like 20. That was a long time ago.
I think I bought
Well,
it.
the
It's
content-
been 4 or 5 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah, the content's going to. I've heard people saying the 40s, 50s, up in that
Usually.
level. So there's enough
Mhm.
to do.
Cool.
Right on. Pretty cool.
Well, in the tabletop world, the last time we had met and talked together, we had been talking about the coming out of the Lost Mine of Fandelver. I know Nathan's still rolling through with what level are the characters in your campaign right now, Nathan?
They are still level 4. They've been level 4 for like I think 5 sessions because it's been super role play for the past 5 sessions. They're just now actually getting back into the story. They took like a wild curve of like random, they went to a circus. I mean, there was all kinds of random things that went down because they broke away from the story completely. So I just had to kind of make some stuff up. And but they finally, I've circled them back. Now they're going back into the story. The rogue got arrested though, and nobody knows. Everybody was asleep, and he tried to sneak off because he knew that they wouldn't approve of him trying to do what he was trying to do. So he waited for everybody to go to sleep, and he snuck into the camp and got busted and got imprisoned. So like everybody's going to wake up and have no idea where he's at. So we'll see how that goes.
Wow. Look at Isildur up there just relishing in that. Did you see that?
All those shenanigans.
Wow, dude.
Yeah, the rogue he's had a lot of shenanigans. There's got to be a rogue in the group because they always change the plot.
Such a huge dynamic. Oh, that's so cool though. Gets arrested. Party doesn't even know. Oh, it's great.
He failed. He failed a performance check because like somebody like came out of a tent because they heard something right, and he was trying to use his canteen to pretend like he was peeing and drunk, but he failed his performance. So they saw the canteen. So it was bad. It was crazy. It was a wild one.
So do we have anyone who's considering roguish behavior in our next campaign?
Well, my community wants me to go dark side. They've like all been very adamant about this. So I don't know. I guess when we start exploring the like the handbook and the different classes and stuff and the Weave in the Void, then I'm gonna know for sure. I haven't read through the newer one. I'm not gonna say anything more than that, but the newer updated version of it. I haven't read through that one just yet, but
there's no new
Does
classes.
everybody have
torn.
like a small feel for what they want to do? Because I think
do.
I found mine. I think I know what I want to be. What are you thinking, Bounty?
I'm leaning towards the hedge mage,
Mm.
focusing on fire and life, and being part of the Adventurers Guild.
Mm. See, Renfell, I got to redo the art for Hedge Mage. I can't let Bounty be the class that I'm not happy with the artwork. So I got to
All
redo
right,
it.
fair enough.
It just wouldn't be right.
Just take my picture of my face.
You know what I'm thinking about being?
Hmm.
Thinking about being an Inquisitor. That sounds
What?
mighty
I'm
tasty.
looking at that one too, but
Wow.
yeah,
Sounds
Vengeful.
tasty.
Vengeful Paladin.
I'm
Inquisitor.
thinking about
Wow.
it. I'm thinking about it because
Yeah.
you get a little bit of magic, plus you still get some martial abilities.
It's not just a little magic. They actually have the strongest magic out of anyone in all those archetypes.
Yeah, it's looking tasty. I'm really thinking about that. Might be what I do.
Oh my gosh! But they travel in threes, so you got to have two buddies with you.
Oh, is that so? Okay.
Well,
Yeah,
at least
you're right.
at
You're
least
right.
in the book, at least in the novel format, they travel in threes. But we might be able to stretch the rules a little bit for the tabletop campaign. But the way
With
I
the
put those
sword.
in there, yeah, the way I put those in there for the book was just to create like a, a greater sense of danger to have. I took away from watching Star Wars Rebels, and they even have the Inquisitors there, which is a generic term that lots of shows use.
Mhm.
But having the Jedi hunters like seeking down the Jedi, and I was like, yeah, it'd be cool if there's one. But then when I played Jedi Fallen Order, it was like, oh, they've got the Ninth Sister and the Seventh Sister, and there's a group of them, and I was like, well, I ought to just make the religious connections even stronger and make it the Trinity. So that's why I did that for the book, but we can probably get past that for the tabletop if there's only going to be one in the group.
But
Yeah.
honestly, the min-maxer in me looked at the Inquisitor too, Nathan. I'm
Yeah.
like, dang, they sound really powerful.
Is anybody
Yeah.
going Death Mage here out of curiosity?
Not I.
Really? Okay.
I'm thinking Warden.
Yeah.
I'm over here like,
No,
I figured you would be a warden for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw
But I
Templar,
haven't-
but then I was like, but I'm not gonna be Death Mage,
Mhm. I
That's
haven't decided on race yet. I
Yeah.
was leaning towards Brownie because they're a lot of fun. It'd be fun to play a Brownie, but Halfling as well, maybe.
What
So,
about you,
we'll see.
Idrildor? I
You
maybe I
know,
should stop calling you that.
yeah, I can't really use that name anymore because
What?
that's an NPC in the
Oh
No.
yeah.
campaign.
That's
So
funny.
I'm gonna have to actually come up with a Weave and Void name for my
Ooh,
character, which will be
that's
fun. So
funny.
I don't have the slightest clue what I'm gonna play. I really like to play dwarven races, and the mountain dwarf isn't really. I did that when we did the beta testing, and it kind of adds an interesting take on things because they're not really seen. So I might do that for a race. I don't know. So, but I don't have the slightest clue what kind of class I'm gonna play yet. I might do something completely different. I just feel like for our campaign, playing a generic, like a rogue or a ranger or something like that, just be too, you know, too simple. So might do Templar. I might think of Templar.
Templar looked pretty good too, but some people don't want me doing that. They want me to be dark side. So going Necro though. I mean,
Hey,
I'll have fun with it.
listen though, in the story though, isn't kind of the human ones they're kind of not so they're kind of feeling not so holy. You know what I mean?
Right.
So like I'm just saying you could be a paladin and still there's going to be scenarios where with
Mhm.
that
True.
storyline it's
Yeah,
going to
'cause-
get dark.
Yeah, you're not gonna like those little brownie dudes
So-
and everything.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Have any of you seen Raised by Wolves? It's that new HBO show that Ridley Scott executive produced and directed a little bit of.
Heard of it, but I've not seen it.
Yeah, heard of it, but
So it's basically set in a future where there was a holy war between the androids and the church, or basically the tech side of humanity and the church didn't, and they both had their own sides of their own androids and robots, and it picks up thousands of years in the future, and there's this ship which crashes into a planet, and on that ship are a pair of androids, and they've got these embryos of humans, and they're like the remnants who separated from the church. and came here. Well, right behind them is a church vessel, which has all of these church people on it, and they're these religious crazy people who they're Templars and Paladins and everything else, but they are not nice people at all, and they like hunt the
Now,
androids and
this show is called what?
Raised by Wolves.
See, I didn't see that name made me think it was going to literally be about somebody, and I was kind of like, eh. If I'd have known it was about cool stuff like that, I'd already watched it.
It's
so.
a trip, dude. It's definitely got like aliens vibes in a few of the early episodes because they're on this strange planet and there's some creepy creatures and there's somebody who's been there before. And I haven't gotten into season 2 yet, so I'm not caught up with what's there. But it's been really good because I looked at that, and then also Cursed on Netflix had a very good representation of zealotrous church members who were off hunting the Fae because of magic reasons. And I was like, well, ours aren't necessarily related to magic per se, but it kind of is. So I was able to pull inspiration from different sources for that. So some humans, like especially if when you're getting into the campaign and you meet Lance, who was played by it's one of Joey's friends. He's been a long-term supporter of all of our projects. He's actually my accountant, Michael, but he played the goody two shoes, young 20s, naive as hell, kid who was raised in the church, doesn't know anything other than being a church boy, and he's just naive to all of the atrocities that his group has been, sort of doing over the last few years in particular. And his eyes become kind of open, by getting out there and seeing this. So there are definitely going to be people on both sides of the equation. So there will be good paladins and Templars and bad paladins and Templars. The Inquisitors are going to be hard because they are specifically trained for one purpose, and that is to hunt down and kill mages. So there's gonna have to if anybody's if they literally they're hunting down elven mages. So I mean if you are gonna go with that, Nathan, like that's gonna be a tricky one. You're either gonna be undercover or there's gonna have we're gonna have to come up with a role play. This is gonna be the fun stuff when we start getting into this, when we're starting to create the campaign stuff here in a few weeks. Because that's going to be stuff we have to talk about and figure out and go, how's this going to work? What's the storyline going to be that you're all together? Are you undercover? Are you doing this for real? Because the other thing too is if Sim goes, I mean, Death Mage is not in and of itself, because if you're from the Circle of Death, that's not prohibited, but Necromancy is. So if you're dabbling in Necromancy, then you can get in deep doo-doo from the church and from the Circle of Mages.
Oh,
So
sounds
then
fun.
it's that could create, and it could be one of the things I love in Baldur's Gate 3 is Baldur's Gate 3 is the vampire guy in your party. Like he's doing it all kind of under the table, and like you'll wake up one night and he's like eating you, and he's like, "Are you had, it's,
That's
like,
so disturbing, by the way. That
Yeah.
scene is so disturbing because he's can I keep feasting? And it's like, I won't kill you. And like, I had chat vote on that the first time I saw that scene, and they were like, let him feast on you. So, dude, it was so disturbing. He's just like, and he takes it way too far, and you're like, no, stop, get off of me. Oh, I don't like that. See, I share everything I have. I'll share it with anybody. Except for my blood, man. That's mine. Right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to share my blood. That's the only thing sacred to me. I'll give anything away, but not my blood. So that's vampires. That's kind of my sticky subject. I don't like that.
So you don't give blood?
No, I can't do it. I can't do it.
I'm not a big
I'm
fan
the same.
I don't like having needles stuck in my veins.
No.
Yeah,
Oh,
I'll leave. I'll leave the doctor's office if they're
My
like, "Oh,
blood
we gotta
type.
take blood." I'm like, "I'm out. I don't. You
I'd
don't
be
need it. I'm leaving."
positive. I'd be positive you're not taking my blood.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
okay
I'd
with
be
I'm okay
positive,
with
yeah.
jabs. If they jab me, I'm fine. Chris, on the other hand, I think I got video last time. We had to get was that our flu shot? It was our flu shot,
Yeah.
and the the poor nurse guy, like had to like calm her down. He was like, "It's gonna be okay. You're gonna be all right." Like, 'cause she screamed, like I'm gonna get hit later, but yeah, she doesn't like getting jabbed. But that's
Yeah.
okay, 'cause when we got blood tests when we were getting married, we had to get all our blood work done and everything. I don't know if it's a thing in the U.S., but here in Mexico, you got to get your blood work done
Hmm.
and everything. And they took 2 vials, and I damn near passed out, and because I don't like them taking blood anyway, and they took 2 vials, and Chris gets right up after it, and she's ready to go, and the nurse is like, "All right, see you later," and I'm like, "Nope, sorry, I need to sit here for a little bit because I'm gonna
Yeah.
I'm not ready," and I had to sit there for like 20 minutes because I was faint, felt like
Wow.
I was gonna pass out. I was like, not ready
That's
for this,
me.
so yeah.
That's me. I think I'm
Ah,
bleeding to death, right? Like
Wow.
my brain thinks I'm bleeding to death and I have no energy. I'll feel like crap for days. I'll be like, and I can take a shot. Shots don't bother me, but it's the blood. It's like I just it kills me. It's my weakness, man. It absolutely drains me, and I
Wow.
know it's in my head, right? Like I'll be googling like how much blood is in the body. Like okay, what they took is a crap.
Wow.
What? Why am I dying?
Wow.
Why is it killing me?
I've given so much blood that does not freak me out, but I find injections freak me out. Just that idea of a foreign body kind of thing. I don't
I
like
thought I
it.
was bad. You guys make me feel like I'm way better about all this stuff than I thought I was before. I'm like,
I am a baby about the blood.
Life
I am
force
such a baby.
coming out of me. No.
mm-mm.
wow.
Yeah,
Is
that's how I feel,
everybody
Bounty.
here like
That's
that?
how
Am I
I
the only
feel.
one that's
No.
actually tempered to this now? Or like, I used to be like that, but
It's like, look, I'll give you anything, but the blood is like my life. So, like,
yeah.
I'm sorry. It's the
I
only thing I'm not going to give you.
I
The
need my
army. It was
blood.
the army that
Yeah.
tempered me. Yeah.
But yeah.
Before I was like, nah, dude.
Ugh.
My
Mm.
wife goes and donates blood. She drives herself there, donates however much, that bag worth, and then she drives herself.
No.
Yeah, my
Oh, she's
wife does that
hardcore.
too.
Yep. I've watched.
Uh,
I went with Faith and you that one time that she donated blood, and I was getting freaked out because everybody in that room is like strapped to a chair, and they got a tube just sucking it all out, and I'm just like, this is
Yep.
wrong.
He's just
I mean,
sucking
it's
it all
really,
out.
really
I'm getting
good
woozy
stuff.
just thinking
yeah,
about it.
me too. Me
So,
too.
so in other words,
Really? Wow.
no one's gonna play a vampire in this campaign.
No way.
No?
I
Well, you're
hate
really
vampires.
enticing me to wanna. I'm not gonna
Oh,
lie
you're not
for this.
feasting on me.
What are you gonna play, Chris? Do you know yet?
I don't know yet.
Funny, man.
Life
I
mage.
have a choice.
We need a life mage.
Well, I don't. Yeah, well, it
Well-
depends because if we got
Mm.
an inquisitor in the party and a mage at the same time, that's gonna
Well,
be.
Bounty's a mage, right?
Well,
Hedge mage?
hedge mage is there's gonna be
different.
problems, but it's slightly different. Although I just realized you said earlier that you wanted to do life and
Uh-oh.
something.
Uh-oh, we lost Renfell.
Oh no.
Phil? Oh.
Maybe
He's just caught
There
up.
we go.
There we go.
That's
We're good.
better.
Yeah.
A
That was
little
the
bit of a hiccup.
first, the only time it did that this whole time, though. Yeah. It's pretty
Fingers
good.
crossed.
Half an hour.
Oh, video's buffering?
It's good. It's back.
Yeah, we'll see.
Okay.
We'll see.
All right.
Fingers crossed. Because Bounty had said, can you guys hear me now? Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Because Bounty, you had said you were gonna do life and something else.
Fire and
Well,
life.
yeah, we'll have to look at that because the hedge mages don't actually follow the circles. So
Mm.
life magic is a little bit different because that's part of the circle of life. So we'll have to. I hadn't considered the hedge mage having access to those specialty spells. So I might have to have some. I might have to think about that one a little bit more. See what I can do in terms. What can hedge mages
I
do?
thought from what I read that hedge mages could pick any of the spells from any of the circles. They weren't tied to any of the circles.
Well, they are a generalist mage, but there are specialty spells that go into. So once you hit 4th level, you specialize into Circle of Life, Circle of Fire, Circle of Earth, so on and so forth. And there are going to be specialty spells within those circles that hedge mages wouldn't know because they don't have access to that specialized training. So the question on my end, because the way I had thought about this was that hedge mages were basically going to have access to everything that's in like the typical player's handbook for wizards, and then I have to come up with original spells for the specialty classes, for the specialty schools, I should say, and those would be the ones that the hedge mage wouldn't necessarily have access to. But since we're doing we might have to do something unique if that's the way you want to play that character, and I might just have to say, okay, let's take these 3 or 4 spells, and let's take these 3 or 4 spells, because maybe you did some training with the school, and then you decided it wasn't for you, and you went off on your own, but you kept that knowledge. We can make that work, because I hadn't thought that far ahead. I hadn't thought about somebody thinking about it that way. Um, I'm reading Haley's message. Cringe.
Yeah, that's rough. What about you, Chris? What are you thinking about being?
For what?
For the campaign.
For the Weaving Void.
What class?
I haven't chose the class. No, not yet. So I don't know what I'm going to be.
Do you know what race?
Mm-mm. No.
Dwarf.
No.
Dwarf. Hey, I've got the bearded dwarven princess
Hey,
covered.
I was gonna say we gotta have a bearded female dwarf. You know, show these Lord of the Rings fans how it's done.
Hey,
Yeah.
there you go, man.
People have been a kick because I've now branded all of everything I do recently has said approved by Renfell the bearded dwarven princess, or read by, or presented
gosh.
by Renfell the bearded dwarven princess. It's just I'm having a lot of fun with it. But it's coming together. I'd
Nice.
say here in the next few weeks we'll probably start migrating to starting to create characters and starting to come up with the
Yeah.
backstories and everything, kind of start figuring all that out. I don't think I'm going to be adding any more content to the source book at this point. It's probably going to be as it is for now. The version that you got is probably going to be the last version that you get until the final version is done, and then you're just going to have to promise not to read the bottom part, which has the campaign in it, because you'll get a copy of it at that point. But now I'm just putting art into it, and I did. I think the only thing I could see myself adding is going to be more lore and backgrounds, like factions and backgrounds, because I don't want to come up with. I don't see a need to come up with all of the, like D&D has all the backgrounds already, like acolyte, spy. I figured we could just use those as we want to. I don't see a reason to come up with, because I've read a few other, at least for the moment, I'm not going to take the time to do that. I have read some other source books, like what the heck is it? Grim Hollow, I think is the name of it. Which they did a couple of they did like 3 Kickstarter campaigns back to back. They did a player's handbook, they did a source book, which did very well. Then they came back and did a player's handbook, which did even better, and then they did a monster manual after that. So they did 3 different campaigns, and they're very, very well done books. But one of the things is I was reading through like the source book one time. I mean, they've just got like 30 different custom backgrounds, but they're doing a very unique, like dark gothic weird world where people can become mutations and abominations and stuff, and so there's all these different backgrounds based on the mutations and abomination stuff that you can have that attaches to you, and it's really creepy and weird. Whereas that was a part of it I haven't completed yet. So what I figured would be that'd be a good stretch goal for the Kickstarter when we get to the hardback versions, is be like, hey, you know what? If we want to do this, we'll develop another 15 backgrounds and more classes and so on and so forth. But I think we're pretty good for. I've got 11 right now. The only one I might add, I did a Patreon post about this a couple months back. I might add a necromancer, but I just haven't figured out how to make it work, because I just don't see it would be so difficult to role play a necromancer in a party, because everyone's out to get you. The church will hunt you, the circle mages will hunt you. No one wants to let a necromancer live. Like, it's forbidden on all sides. So how do you, I mean, it should be there realistically. You should be able to play that class, but how do you play that class when everyone's going to be hunting you, including your party
Yeah.
members? So it's like,
Yeah, somebody that played a necromancer would end up like tied up by their party and dragged along for the ride. I feel like, or something of that nature. It'd be hard to implement something I mean, you could always be like,
Secretive.
Yeah, you could be
Secretive.
secretive, undercover, and people could be fallen from their positions. So, like, I was thinking, you're the Inquisitor. You could be like a one that betrays to the other side, thinking, you know what, you've trained as an Inquisitor, so you have all the skills and powers. But like at the end of the day, go that was wrong, and I'm going to the other side, and that's why you can be in our party with Fey people. Same
but
thing
if
with
I
maybe.
did that, then I think I would lose the ability to do magic, right? Because I need the
Not
church
necessarily.
to
So
recharge.
Joey and I have talked about this before, and we hadn't decided what we were going to do if you left the church. Do they have the ability to just cut off your relic item? Because
Right.
theoretically, the relic item is tied to your DNA. So, and as long as you're within range of a charging station, it's going to automatically continue to recharge itself. So on the one hand, it's like I don't know that they would sever you from the source, because maybe they could 500 years ago, but maybe that's technology that they didn't bring with them and they don't have it anymore. So they don't have a, I don't know yet. I mean, it could come about, but that's something we've discussed I think in the past is, are there repercussions for leaving the church, or do
Yeah, you
they
get
not?
fried, man.
Yeah, do they send an impulse out and it, like, burns your finger off? Like, I don't know. Like, we haven't thought about those types of scenarios yet in terms of, are, because from a role play perspective, from a campaign setting standpoint, it makes more sense to let players have the option to do that, kind of like in EverQuest 2, where you could betray your city and go to the other side. You just can't use the facilities over there anymore, you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
But you keep all your skills.
you keep all your skills and everything else. So, I think it makes most sense, at least from the tabletop perspective, is what could probably allow that type of thing. And that can also be something that gets played into the campaign, because when everybody's starting off, you're going to be starting off before the Inquisition, basically before all that starts. So, that's when
That's
you're
cool because you
that
get to live through it.
Yeah.
Like,
correct.
see how your character would react.
So
Yeah.
if that's the
Choose
case,
and pick
then
sides.
yeah, so I was gonna say, so if that's the case and someone was to play the necro class, like a death mage, right, who can do necromancy, so then you could build up relationships maybe to where like your party members wouldn't or
Right.
would.
I think your party members could tolerate that, because let's say they could say
Mm,
he's really powerful. It's like a Jedi that maybe dabbles a few skills in the dark side. He's not 100%. Like I think it's
mhm,
Mace Windu, right? He's
Mhm.
got the ability to do both dark and light, and that's what gives him a lot more unique strength. So we can tolerate him because he's our friend, and he only dabbles in, to the dark side for good reasons, that our party will
mm,
accept.
Yeah,
Hmm.
there
Yeah,
are, there are
maybe.
ways
But
around it. Yeah.
yeah, I feel like there would definitely be at least somebody who would, maybe they would tolerate it, but they wouldn't like it, right?
Sure.
Like,
Yeah.
like imagine if you had friends, that you've known most of your life, and then all of a sudden
mm.
you realize one of your friends has to like suck the blood of a newborn
Yeah.
baby.
Oh,
Right.
You know what I mean? Like you'd be
Yeah.
like, bro, we've been friends for a long time, but I'm sorry. Like
Sorry.
wow.
Yeah.
you took it too far.
Back to the blood, Nathan, huh?
So it's like BA. We just knock them out and make them come along and pretend that it doesn't happen.
18.
Oh my gosh, man. Oh man. Yeah, I mean, is there any darker of a character in the campaign or in your
Well,
in your
Dark.
source book
Yeah.
than a death mage? Because I'm like,
I don't think I've got anything designed that's, you know, dark or light per se. It's mostly just, it's going to depend on more or less your alignments, and your personal values. Because you could always play, because I don't have like a Shadow Knight as an example class setup.
right.
So you would be just a
Mm-hmm.
paladin who's doing nasty shit. Doing bad things with your paladin powers.
If you want
And
to be
that's
evil, you should play a brownie. You could be like this mischievous little turd.
That's true.
like
Yeah,
a throat
that's
slitting
true.
brownie who just revels in assassinations and
Yes.
see. I'm gonna use my
How far can they fly? The brownies. Like, is there a limit? Like, is
how
it?
high or how
Yeah,
distance wise.
like how long or
I
distance?
think the only in my mind, it's a good question. I don't think I've ever really thought about that. My gut reaction would be they could probably go up, 50 to 100 feet, but Beyond that, they're getting into gusts of wind that are going to probably, at some point they're going to get into gusts of winds that are going to blow them around because they don't weigh a lot. Distance wise, I don't know that they would be able to. This is gut reaction responses, by the way. I don't know that they would necessarily be able to fly like 5 miles, but in an oh shit scenario, I'd say they could probably handle flying like a mile or two.
Nice.
If it was like, I got not carrying anything and it's like I'm being chased and I'm gonna die, I can fly for a mile, or something like that.
Well,
Otherwise,
you
I think
guys
it's
heard
just
it.
gonna
We're
be.
all playing brownies, so
That's
looking
right. We're all
forward.
brownies. Flight form.
Let's just say 26 feet. That's how far they can fly.
we are flying back to town for a
Yeah.
long rest.
Exactly.
Oh, wyverns are coming after you now.
Brownie hedge mage.
Here come the wyverns.
Dang.
Yeah, the wyverns.
Brownie gang.
So I've been doing recently because I've been putting all the campaign stuff together and getting everything into the module. I've been really appreciating graphic artists more than I used to because the way that the player's handbook looks visually and the DM guide, the monster manual, like, oh my goodness, like there is a reason why D&D is like the number one. Like it's just visually they have,
Yeah.
and I can even look back to the second edition ones, which I have, and those were cool, but fifth edition books are works of art, like just
Yeah.
full on.
Yeah, true.
I like to
Everything.
buy them, even if I have no plans to run them. I just like to
Yeah.
read them and just admire the beautiful artwork and how everything's laid out. I can read them like it's a book and
Yeah, man.
let my imagination kind of run wild of what would happen if I was running that campaign. I love the fifth edition books. I think I don't think there's anybody that has ever gotten to that pinnacle. I think they're at the peak.
They really are. If you haven't
Yeah.
checked them out yet, the Grim Hollow Guide, those guys have done a very good. I feel like they're the best independent source books I've seen outside of like D&D. Like they're the best independent ones I've seen. I'm really interested to see what's Chris Metzen's team from Ouroboros,
War Chief Gaming.
War Chief Gaming.
Yeah.
I'm really
Yeah.
interested to see what they're putting together because
Hey, man.
they have a world-class team of artists as well.
Yeah.
And the concept art they put out for the Kickstarter was exceptionally well done. So I have a feeling, given those guys' pedigree working on like Warcraft all those years and StarCraft and everything else, I have a feeling we're going to see something really visually unique with their book as well. Which is it's inspirational but also intimidating because I can't, we're not going to be able to approach that level of fidelity per se, but it gives you a mountain to shoot for, and everything else. But I found myself the other day because I was trying to figure out how the hell did they do the like burned edges and everything else because I'm not a Photoshop master, I dabble, and that was like 4 hours of figuring out a way to do it that's not nearly as cool looking as the way they've done it, but I was at least able to figure something out that was like, okay, so I can use these 3 different brushes and I can kind of do a little bit of this, that, the other. And okay, I've got something that kind of looks like it's a torn, burned edge. But it really made me appreciate like people who know what the hell they're doing in Photoshop. Because I'm okay with it, but I'm not an expert. And
Yeah.
I was flipping through the player's handbook going, how the hell do I do that right there? And then that would lead me to Google, hours from Google and watching YouTube tutorials and everything else.
I'm telling you.
They put some pretty cool stuff in those books. So kudos to them. What's your guys' favorite sort of, if you have a piece of, I don't know if you have one, so I'm just saying this is a random question. Do you have a favorite cover of a D&D guidebook, or because the cover art is usually like the best piece from one of the campaigns or anything?
Oh my gosh.
I can't think of one off the top of my head.
What was the hang on? What was the one book, the Storm Giant?
Frost Rime?
Is it?
Rime of
make
Frost
sure.
or something like that?
I think that is it. Hang on. Let me look at the cover and make sure I'm right.
That is a really cool cover, by the way.
Yeah, that one. I love that cover, man. That is freaking epic. That is the one I was thinking of. Yeah, Rime of the Frost Maiden. It's Icewind Dale. Yeah, that one. I just love that one so much. And not just the cover, but that whole book looks fantastic. So much good art in there. So I'd say that'd probably be mine.
I don't know
Yeah,
about.
I'm having a hard time with that. I keep going back to video game stuff and
Yeah.
as opposed to tabletop, mainly because I have more reference points there than I do for tabletop
I
personally.
don't know about artwork per se, but I did love the class handbooks for second edition or 2.5. I think it was 2.5 AD&D. They were like a faux leather, like a red faux leather. I've got all those stashed at my sister's in a box, but those have always stood out to me as some of the coolest additions to like your campaign setting because they had the fighter's guidebook, the ranger's guidebook, and each one is it's a nice little book that just gives you all these additional details about that specific class, which is something that I would love to do long term because it's cool to have like the class section in the book, but I haven't seen D&D do this since the second edition days. Like I don't think they've come out with just a ranger guidebook, a warrior's guidebook, etc. They've just got all these subclasses now and everything else in the handbooks. But I loved those because they had original artwork in them and everything else and really cool covers. And they weren't thick, they were I don't remember like, a quarter inch maybe thick, so they weren't like your full on 300 page book. They were just these little, like, I don't even remember now, 50, 60 pages, but it was all about that one class with art for that class.
I remember that.
Yeah, all those special details in there. Those are the something that I would love to see make a return. If D&D doesn't do them, we're gonna have to do them.
Yeah.
I feel like that just gave me another idea for stretch goals because I feel like that's a really cool because we only have 11 classes at the moment, so that's not out of the realm of possibilities to think about having those in there, and even doing combos and being like we could have 3 per stretch goal or something, or 4 for stretch goal and have 3 books or something like that. I don't know, food for thought. But I was just thinking about that when I think about the artwork, because I know the one that always comes to mind, which is not my favorite piece of artwork, but it's the classic. I think it's the classic first edition DM cover when the rogue is up on that statue trying to pry that gem out of the statue. That one always comes to my mind when I think of classic D&D artwork. But
yeah, I wanted to say something too, since we're kind of talking about the Weave and the Void stuff, and Nathan's been doing art. I get into nostalgia trips occasionally, and we were talking about that's what triggered it is you were talking about source books and like D&D. Legend of Zelda. Do you remember the Hyrule Historia, Encyclopedia, and all that they did? I got all 3 of those. I love that because that was like, that's like a whole franchise that goes way back to like Nintendo, and that feel like they took a page from the D&D playbook and cataloged it into like legit, like thick book, like an inch each. And I was like, every now and again, I just get into like a nostalgia trip, and I go back and I always look up like Zelda stuff. And you know what? Nathan, what's your art style that I've been seeing for the what do you call it, for the Weave and the Void stuff is what it reminds me of?
What's that?
It reminds me of some of the artwork for Zelda 2. I'm gonna show you some link. I'm gonna share it in chat so everybody here can kind of really save this.
Talking about the sequel on the NES?
Yeah, I need to get this link. I'm gonna show you all what I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah, I can see that. Yeah, I remember this. I actually remember seeing some of these in the good old instruction manual to that game.
I know it's like one image and stuff, but like that, the second game was like really difficult.
Yeah.
But I was like looking the other night and I was like, this feels familiar. And I was like, I like couldn't help but wonder. I was like, because I know you're a big Zelda fan. I'm like, I wonder how much this like was rooted.
It might have like
subconsciously,
because man, I looked at those. That was like
Back in the day.
ritual of mine was I would lay in the floor and just look at those books all the time.
Mhm.
And actually, that's why I got into D&D was someone got me a book. You know, they didn't know. You know, they were just like, "Oh, looks like something he would like," and got it for me. And I didn't know what D&D was, but I would just read it and look at the art and you know, and I had no idea how you played this game or anything. It was like this big mysterious, like
Mhm.
what in the world is this, right? Because it wasn't like a player's guide; it was like just a campaign. So yeah, I used to do that a lot. But I do have this thing where I can't escape when I'm doing art. My art always has this Saturday morning cartoon look.
Man.
When we first started, I was like, no, I'm going to do a different style. I'm going to try to look like Chris's art because she has a very unique style. So I'm going to try. I can do it. And I tried, and I
Mistake,
tried,
man.
and I tried. It just didn't. It always came back looking exactly. So Renfell was finally like, you know what? Just do it in your style. We're happy with that. Just do it the way you do art.
Well, and to be fair, Chris
Yeah.
is still also still experimenting with different styles. I think
Mhm.
you were right before we moved. You were starting to do character art, like, but not in the
Yeah.
way Nathan's doing character art. She was doing like a much more
No.
I don't even know what it's called, but it would be very low detailed, just like almost like what you would see from a charcoal, maybe a charcoal
Oh.
drawing. Um, where it's just some you know, smudges and shapes more than details on stuff, because you know, just anybody who's an artist starts off somewhere, and
Mhm.
for her, having never done character art, that just seemed like a natural starting place. um,
And there's value in that too,
Absolutely.
for people who are, you know, it leaves that bit of imagination to place yourself into it when you do that. So I
Yep.
think it works good for, especially a fantasy role playing game, to have like vague kind of concept art, because especially when it's people, because you can kind of pretend that that's you better than like fully realized art where it's like, well, that's not me. You know what I mean? Like, so there's something to say there, and I think that's why a lot of people do that style. Guild Wars 2 does it a lot.
Yeah, that was
Because there's
actually
a
one of the source points that I took for the concept art was Guild Wars 2. I looked at, I think I actually showed you that, Nathan. I was, because I was showing that to her
yeah,
at the same time I was showing it to you, going, I love what they did here because it's very, you know, kind of, it's not low quality, but it's just it's a different, it's not like, I don't even know what you call that style. It's not D&D, because you open the D&D handbook, and like the paladin is like perfectly represented, whether it's a male or a female. It's like it's
looks
high.
like an
It's,
oil painting,
yeah,
right?
it's extremely high quality character art. And the other one is just sort of like a low poly, you know, blending of images and colors and shapes. But I think it looks pretty cool. Chris, what do you think is your favorite um, piece of concept art you've done so far? To put you on the spot.
My favorite. Um, I think um, the mountains with the eagle.
With the eagle.
That is a good one. I like
Mhm.
that one. That's the one
Yeah.
I was gonna say. I like that one a
Yeah.
lot.
How many versions of that did you do? Like 3 or 4?
Mm.
I don't remember.
Yeah, I remember seeing a few of those
Yeah.
because she changed the eagle a couple of times, and then she changed the mountains in the foreground several
Oh
times.
yes, the
And I
mountain.
think, if I
Yeah.
remember correctly, I think there's actually a tower in the background of that one, which
Yes, it's more.
I told her that to put that in there because I was like, this could literally be the High
Mm.
Elf city at the top of the mountains, and we could just see the single tower back there in the distance. Um, so it gives you a vague representation of what's there's some sort of city in the clouds over there, but we don't know what it is. Um, I know what it is, but
So I don't want to answer wrong in chat.
Yeah.
Mujan is asking
I'll have it checked.
when we think we'll start up the campaign.
Is your
Okay,
internet?
so we're planning on here in the next few weeks. I would say we're going to start doing what I'm calling the boot camp, which is we're going to
Well,
start.
that's weird. Chris did not freeze, but Renfell did.
Am I
Yeah, it
back?
happened
Okay,
last time.
sorry, you're
You're
back.
good.
You're back. You're back.
I'm also wondering how much of this has to do with where my phone is right now, because I've only got 2 bars on my phone right now, like 2 bars of reception. So next time I do this, I'm gonna try to find the spot where I've got 4 bars. Anyway, we'll start doing the boot camp here in the next few weeks, where we're gonna be going through character creation, races, backstories, getting the party together, and starting. We're gonna be doing all that live here on Twitch. The idea is to start the campaign June. When in June depends on when we publish the books, because let me look at the calendar here. And I, depending on how quickly I get artwork finished up, we could publish before June. But let's say we publish on June 1st, which is a Wednesday. We could have our first session, our first official session of the campaign on June 5th. But we could also start before then if we get everything wrapped up and we get all, because we're doing digital, so it's not like we have a publication date for prints. So if I get everything wrapped up, like I've already done with this week is literally I'm doing the encounter section, and that's the last thing I have to do other than put Nathan's artwork in. So I got a bunch of images from Nathan today. I'll put those in next week probably because I want to get the encounter section done. But the only downside to putting all the new images in is every time you put a new image in, it shifts everything else around. So then you got to go back through and adjust everything. So there's still quite a bit of work left to be done. But in a perfect world, I'll be completely done with layout. Um, depending on Nathan's schedule. But let's say in a perfect world, he was able to get all the art to me by the end of the month. And that's not saying you have to do that, Nathan. I'm saying
No, I will.
In
No, I will.
in a perfect world.
It definitely will happen. As a matter of fact, I'm planning on knocking out most of it by next Sunday and just shoot a bunch of crap to you
All
again
right.
like I did today.
So in a perfect world, if
Only
that
good crap.
yeah, if that were to happen, then
Yeah, good crap.
the month of May would be polish, which would be sending it to everybody here, to all these people, and having them read through everything except for the campaign section, and just make sure that everything is as polished as it can be. We've got all the spelling errors and grammar and everything else out of the way. All the headings are proper. The coloring works. There's no font issues and things of that nature. That'll be the month of May. And then as soon as we're done with polish, I mean, if that takes 2 weeks, then we could be ready to go by mid May. But the latest I would anticipate things starting would be June 6th or 5th, whenever that Sunday is. June 5th would be when we
Now,
would start.
I want to say something real quick. So when we were running the last campaign, the D&D campaign, I already knew that campaign really, really, really well. So a lot of times I was suggesting things I knew would move the plot forward, etc. With the Weave and Void, the only spoilers I have on the actual campaign is I did watch your very first beta when you were running it, and then I decided, wait, I'm not going to watch anymore because I want to not know, because I could tell there was things. I don't give anything away, but there's things in that very first one that I was like, ooh, I see what might be happening here. The wheels were turning, so I quit watching after that. So when we play it this time, number one, it's your world, so I'll feel more comfortable with doing weird stuff, right? Like, I didn't, when somebody's following an official campaign, you kind of want to stick to the formula because it's too taxing on the DM if you go too wild. But when it's your world, right? You know all the intricacies, so you'll be able to kind of free flow if we go off the rails a little
And
bit.
I could just make shit up too if I need to.
Right, right. And you're not going to ruin your story because you know
Correct.
your story, right?
And also,
So
I would say too, if you've read the books, I mean, Sparrow and I think I don't
Mhm.
know if Bounty's read them, but I know Sparrow's read them, the book chapters so far.
Mhm.
I don't think that necessarily spoils too much because it just gives you the story of what's happening in Parthana. Well, in the first 10 chapters anyway, of part one. You get the story of what's happening in Parthana, but from the perspective of those characters. So at the very least, you're going to know what's going on in the city, which gives you a slight leg up in the sense that, but we've kind of already know this because we've already talked about this a little bit, between ourselves anyway. And it's all out in the public anyway because Joey and I have done the brainstorming episodes. We know that there's a plague. We know that there's a quarantine. We know that those things are happening because we based that on, looking at the real world pandemic. And so those are things that don't necessarily spoil the campaign per se, because we all know that they're going to take place, and you know that the name of that first campaign is Escape from Parthana. So obviously that's what that's all about. But the minutia of what's going between arriving in the city and escaping the city while there's a plague going on in quarantine, that's the stuff that no one necessarily knows yet. Because even if you watched all 6 of the playtest episodes from our playtesters, that's only about maybe 40 or 50% because I didn't have any of the side quests in. And now I've got all the side quests in because I took the characters from the playtesting and I made them into NPCs who offer quests based on the backstories that those individuals provided me with for their characters. So Lance's character being a young, naive paladin or Templar, excuse me, that was his backstory. And then Ian and Tristan had their characters, Ragel, Lorm, and Haldren, as one is a full-blooded human, the other one's a half-elf, and the human is a paladin. And there's some issues because his brother's a half-elf, and so there's controversy, and it got him into trouble with the church. And they had a backstory where their mom got killed, and I took that and went, okay, so the side quest for those characters when you come up against that quest is they are tracking down their mom's killer, and you're going to help them on that quest. So there's those types of things that are in there that we never play tested, that are out there for you all to play through. So even if you watched all the campaigns, you would understand some of the main components, but a lot of it is still up there. And we may end up talk more so the
Too bad, Chuck.
DMs. Hang on, I gotta go read now because I'm seeing something about sorcerer points.
Oh, sorry.
Darn it! Dang it!
I told you to talk more, chat.
You failed.
You failed us.
Consider this your practice for when we get to the campaign, okay?
So, and plus, we may end up through the course of the campaign and just role playing and everything else, we may end up doing stuff that's not even in the module, just because it might be I might get a spur of the moment thing, like when we did the origin session, and I ran with the whole food. You have food, like that was a spur of the moment role play decision that took the campaign in a completely different direction. So those opportunities still exist. And I'd like to think that anybody who goes out there and buys our books and plays this for themselves feels comfortable enough to do those types of things as well, and just feel free to go off the book, because you can always come back to the book when you've finished your little side campaign in the city.
Yeah.
So that's the long answer to the question of, I think June 5th would be the latest that we would start. And then if we get the polish and everything done before then we might start mid-May with the actual campaign. But we are going to be starting we need to come up with a different name for it, but I'm just keep calling it the boot camp. We'll be starting that here in the next few weeks, and probably spending just 4 or 5 weeks in April and May. You checking on the cats? Getting ready for the campaign, coming up with the backstories and everything else. So yeah, soon. That would be the easiest answer to that.
Nice.
No, not soon.
That's a trigger word.
It's a trigger word for a lot of
Not
people.
soon.
Yeah.
That means sometimes years.
It does
Right?
for some
Games
campaigns.
that
Yeah.
rhyme with Mantheon.
Oh my gosh.
Soon
But we love it.
TM.
We love it.
Yeah. Mantheon Rise of the Crawling.
But I will say too that we did hit. I think we're pretty much on track. I think Joey and I originally thought we were going to have it all out by March, so we're a few months behind what we thought we were going to be on, but we're pretty close. I think some of that too is also because we expanded the scope of some things and decided we wanted to do other things as well. Because originally I was trying to get everything done by March, but then when we sat down with Nathan and Simmer, like however many months ago that was, the idea was, well, we should go off and do Lost Bind of Fandelver first to learn how to use Fantasy Grounds, and that then set the wheels in motion of going, well, if I'm going to do that, then I've got more time, so I should just push these out until we wrap up that campaign, and then that gave me a little more breathing room, which I'm actually really glad happened because I don't think I would have been able to get it done by March. Yeah, I don't think that would have happened. So it's nice having a couple extra months, or I guess 2 extra months really, April and May. But yeah, soon, and I can actually say soon because it is June. And I'm actually theoretically done apart from the encounters, and I'm not going to be doing like full-on D&D stat block encounters for the digital versions. I'm just going to do my own simplified version because if people want to go into like the it's this unless it's a specialty NPC, but like if there's a quarantine group that you're coming up against and it's 20 paladins, with like a captain. The captain's going to have special stats, but the paladins are just going to be very simple 35 hit points, 17 AC, a single attack, and one spell. And I'm not going to bother putting in all this other stuff. It'll just be here's your base stats, 12 across the board or something like that, so that it's very simple to just plug and play with those characters as opposed to going, oh crap, this guy's got 17 dex, 13 strength, 12 this, 11 that, 9 this, and then this other guy has completely different stats. So I'm trying to make the encounter section as simple as possible so that people who are DMing it down the road can do it like I do it, which is a simplified version, especially using Fantasy Grounds because I'm not going to be going in and plugging in all of these custom character stats and everything else in there. I just want a very simple NPC that I can pull and put in there and say he's got 35 hit points. Good luck,
And don't forget, for anybody running a campaign in Fantasy Grounds too, that like you can pull those up. You can pop them open or put them in the what's it called, the
combat
battle combat tracker, and then when you pop them in, they're invisible. So then you can double click them and you can change the stats on the fly. If it's some weird scenario like, well, I've got more people than normal, or so I need to buff them up a little bit, or what have you. You can real quick change those on the fly. So don't forget that you can do that if you need to, because your party makeup is different, or even bringing them down because you got less people.
So it's going to be, the hard work's done with all the modules and source book and stuff. So now it's just layout, which is time consuming but not difficult. So yeah, we are out the door here in a couple months. So thanks everybody who's been. Yeah, it's really quick. So I appreciate everybody who's been hanging out with us for the past few months as we got through, and also patience. Thanks everybody for their patience, including the group that's here, because obviously since Chris and I moved, there have been and probably will still be a couple of hiccups, which we're trying really hard to get ironed out before we get to the campaign, because yeah, we'll hopefully have all that ironed out before then. Otherwise, we might be having some fun adventures in freeze frame. It's stop motion D&D, stop motion streaming.
Guess what the DM said.
I wanted to throw out, since you asked about the cover art, I really like that. What is it called? The Rise of Tiamat. I guess that was in 2014.
That's the campaign I'm running. It's a 2-book. So I'm running, the first book is Horde of the Dragon Queen. By the way, that book you're talking about is worth $100 now. It's out of print. And nice. I like to buy it on the fantasy and have the real version, but I'm just gonna have to do digital. I'm not paying $100 just to have that book sitting behind me.
So
yeah, it's a nice one. I like dragons. So
on an interesting note about expensive collectibles, Joey just bought the the Best Buy Collector's Edition, I think is the one you got of the Star Wars Lego Skywalker Saga. How much is that little figure of
Well,
Luke with the blue milk going for now?
2 days ago when I sent that to you, it was at $100, like on eBay and whatnot,
For a
just
Lego
for the
figure.
blue milk.
It just came
Luke.
out.
Yeah, because the only way
Yeah.
you can get that minifig is from pre-ordering the game, so people are selling.
And
them.
only at Best
Jeez.
Buy, right? Wasn't Best Buy
Yeah.
was the only one that even did that. So
Well,
Dang.
and the steel case, which I'm not happy about my steel case. It did come with a dent, but after reading the reviews, mine is way better than everybody else's, so I didn't even complain. But
That happened
Well-
with our EQ2 box. Same thing.
Dang.
I was
They
gonna
did-
wait.
they didn't package the steel case. They literally threw it in a cardboard box. That was it, just a cardboard box, and no wrapping or anything on it. Which I think they did that so you couldn't like sell a new steel case, but whatever.
It did blow my
Amen.
mind that a little miniature figure of Luke Skywalker with blue milk is
Lego.
$100, like the day
Blue
after
milk.
it came out for sale. So
Yeah.
who knows what that thing's gonna be worth in the next few weeks.
Yeah.
My
Lego
son was
stuff,
like,
man.
"Let's open it." And I'm like, "No, that's staying in the bag, bud.
The
Sorry."
deluxe edition of the game came with it.
Yep.
Yeah, it was out. It was sold out days before on Amazon. You couldn't even order it.
Jeez, man.
I pre-ordered months ago, like a cool person. That's right.
Oh,
Oh, wow.
What?
It was like
It's like,
6
I ain't
months
no
ago because
peasant,
I
man.
spammed him with all the game reveal trailers. Like,
He said-
dude,
He sent me a 12-minute trailer or 6-minute trailer or whatever, and I remember like I watched it and then I sat and watched it with my son, and I was like, "Bro, you want to go in halves?" And he was like, "Yes." And he went and got his wallet, and I was like, "All right, we're doing this," and we pre-ordered it right there. So yeah.
Funny.
well, folks, I think that's probably a good enough point for us to start wrapping up for this evening's session, keeping these ones a little shorter.
I see Kitty. Kitty.
Oh, okay, yeah. So they're which one are you seeing it in? Oh, you just saw it in the bottom corner of mine. So they are they got wormed today. Oh, she just went out. Oh no, so they're playing on that. That's our fake door. It's like a
Oh.
tapestry, and
Yeah.
they're like Tarzan on that thing. And one's in the inside and
man.
one's in the outside. And their mom will often play with them on that stupid thing. And I mean, it's full on. They'll climb up like 3 feet and swing back and forth like Tarzan. It's quite amusing. They've been feeling a little under it today because we wormed them today, but it looks like they're coming out of it now because they've slept like all day, which means they're gonna be up all night now, tearing stuff. I've had to. The office has had to. That gets blocked off. I've had to like put stuff in front of it and put a broom down and all this other stuff because I went to bed 2 nights ago and Chris is like, Tim, and I'm like, I'm half asleep, and I come out of bed and the female had like jumped on my chair and then jumped up on here and was like knocking stuff over on the desk, like Xbox and controllers, and it's like, no, there's thousands of dollars of equipment here. That can't happen. So we put her down on the floor, moved the chairs back, and like maybe she won't be able to get up. And as we're pushing everything back, these are wooden desks. It's the pine wood of that thing. And she literally behind her back just turned around and just climbed up the post of the desk in the corner and was back up on the top. And that's when we said, nope, we got to get a door on the office now because that cannot happen. And so we've had to be very creative about blocking that tapestry off because those two are little freaking devils right now. The one's eye colors have changed mostly, and the other ones are still blue. We weighed them today, by the way, Sparrow. So they're 1.7 pounds, so they're right at like around 6 to 7 weeks, is what the vet told us. So, and they just sold Chris just 2 little doses so that I could dose them at home.
Nice.
Because we don't have a cat carrier or anything. They are super cute, and it's 1 male and 1 female. So, I thought I was only getting 1 cat, and I got 3, and fingers crossed she's not pregnant again because I think maybe it's just a pot belly from. Oh, dude, yeah, it's street cat, so she's got a pot belly going on, and it's like maybe it's just from parasites, hopefully, because it's been 6-7 weeks, so she theoretically could be pregnant again.
Totally could be.
And I'm like
Wow.
so paranoid. But the vet clinic was like, well, if she is, we'll help you get them adopted. And I was like, at the very least, the vet clinic said they're willing to help. The problem is no one around here wants cats because they're an extra mouth to feed. And most people want dogs, but they don't want cats. But I'm like, she's not a big kitty, so she, I don't know if she only had two or if these were the two that survived, but she's not a big cat, so whatever. It is what it is at this point. Please don't be pregnant. That's all I'm gonna say.
Renfell, the crazy cat lady.
Yes, my brother. So
The bearded cat princess. Man.
Joey needs to put the cat herder video in the group chat because
Oh my god, I totally do.
everybody can watch that later because he
Oh,
sent
I
that to me the
get
other
it.
day and I was in tears. Cowboy
Did you
cat
never
herders.
seen that before?
I had, but I had forgotten about it.
Oh, it's so good.
So
yeah.
on that note, we're gonna wrap up tonight, everybody. We will be back, assuming no more hiccups. Next week. The other hiccup that's been happening here is because it was a heat wave last week, and like the power grid couldn't handle everyone running their AC, so we were without power like 3 nights in a row. So we're hoping that doesn't happen again too. So one way or the other, we will have episodes to you, even if we might have a hiccup here and there along the way. So thanks to everybody for your patience. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate everybody's interest. Don't forget, if you want to pre-order the tabletop books, which are coming out in June, you can go over to the Patreon page, patreon.com/Wandering Hermits. At the $15 a month tier, which is the Dungeon Master tier, you can pre-order the books. You get the novel pre-order. You get access to a bunch of other stuff too. There's also the point-and-click game, which you can get for the $25 a month tier. And you get everything with that as well. I believe some other stuff that might be a standalone tier for that stuff. There's also a video that Joey and I did last week of the point and click game. If you want to check that out, you can download the demo. I need to re-speak myself because the pre-order tier for the point and click game is a standalone, but everything from the Dungeon Master tier and down comes in one pack. So when you pre-order the point and click, that's its own thing. When you pre-order the 5th edition books, you get all the fun stuff. So check it out. Those are out soon. Artwork by Chris and Nathan. Story by me and Joey, and all sorts of other stuff. Chapter 16 was just published last week, Thursday. So chapter 17 is just around the corner for the book. And everybody here has their own stuff. So let's go around the table. If you've got stuff to promote, let them know where we can find you, everybody.
Round table.
I'll go first then. So join me Monday, tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern on the Nathan Napalm YouTube channel for D&D. We're running the Horde of the Dragon Queen. And Ronick from Pantheon will be back. He had to take off last week, but he'll be back this week to die some more and do Ronick type activities. And then make sure you join us for Looking for More on Thursday. It's gonna be a good one because we had to take a week off. So
oh, that's right, we did
take
be a
good one
off last week.
Yeah. You should have seen Daedalus tonight on the Ashes Pathfinder show. He was getting a little out there. He was like kind of going off a little bit. He's like, sorry. I didn't get my LFM last week, so it's like that's perfect.
Yeah, LFM is very therapeutic. Right?
It is.
It's a therapeutic show. Right. You come on, you get mad, you get happy, you laugh, you cry, you cringe.
Nostalgic. Yeah.
You might get a little
good time. So I guess.
And then also,
come
Tuesday,
on, man. This is gonna make it
nostalgia for the couch. And also Tuesday night on Pantheon Plus Twitch, join me and Sparrow and Drac and Derek and Cryptbox and a bunch of us get together and we're playing Project Gorgon, which I'll be prepared for this time. Last week I was the tank and I had the lowest. I was the squishiest one in the party because I like lazily didn't prepare for the stream and it was bad. It was like it was taking 2 healers like full time, man. Just blasting me with heals and my hit points were just like, oh man. That's all I got.
Man. Yeah, I guess I'll segue from that into if you want to join us on Thursdays 5 p.m. over on my channel twitch.tv/Samorg, you'll catch Renfell, myself, the Nathan Apom, sometimes Daedalus, and a lot of the homies talking about all things gaming, nerd culture, and all that. So join us there for that. And if you're interested in all the other stuff and things, then I just say be there for that. Then you can find all the other stuff because there's too much to talk about, at least for me. So also, if you're in our group chatting right now, check the DM group. That's thanks to my community. I'm not proud of
I
it.
saw that.
All right, that's my bit.
Your face.
Took it out of context and added it to some ridiculous imagery they put together. It's not accurate at all.
That we're gonna have to change the show name. I
They
think.
took it
The
to what?
casting
Shower
couch.
juice? Is that what you're gonna call it?
Looking for more
For the casting couch.
Gosh, right? You don't want to promo your shower juice on this thing, Nathan?
I have an advertisement coming soon for that.
I'm looking forward to it, bro. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting.
A new ad to, peddle my products.
He did claim an accurate image. Brown Rice is in chat trying to reinforce this false narrative, and I gotta not listen. Please, someone save me. Continue. Anybody?
Bounty and I are streaming Wednesday evenings on twitch.tv/Sparrow. We're doing Lord of the Rings. If you want to come hang out, it's at 9 Eastern.
Perfect. And then Joey and I will probably be modifying our schedule for stand-ups, at least until I get sorted out my internet situation for the evenings. But otherwise, here on Twitch, we're streaming on Sunday nights. We got this show, which will be turning into the Weave in the Void campaign in June. And at some point, now that I've got the office set up, I'm going to be bringing back the miniature painting during the afternoons at some point. So stick around for that. I don't have a schedule for that yet. And then as I get deeper into campaign stuff, once we're getting live, as I go into the second session, I'll be doing, or the second campaign stuff for the Weave of the Void, I'll be getting back into Incarnate map making streams as well. So all that good stuff happens here on Twitch. Otherwise, excuse me, you can find all of our stuff at the Patreon page and also the Discord. If you're watching this after the fact on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe, hit the bell icon, all those good things so you get future updates. And if you're here on Twitch, thanks so much for following along, for your support as a follower, and for those of you who have subscribed, thanks you so much, everybody. We appreciate the support. See you next week. Same time, same place, assuming no issues. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Farewell.